Welcome to another Businessology lesson. What we're going to be talking about today is 5 key hiring steps to implement. So hiring is a difficult thing to pull off, very nuanced, and so we're going to talk about how to get this done right. And there's 5 key foundational steps. You're going to add a lot of your own steps to the hiring, so you won't necessarily match our hiring steps. But we've been doing this for a couple of decades, so our hiring process always changes. It's always growing. We're always learning. There's always new platforms we can use. So just keep that in mind, that a hiring process is never set in stone. You always want to be growing with a hiring process. But let's talk about 5 key things. The first one is you want to do an introductory meeting, and you want to try to do it with other people if you can. There's even steps before this, but this one is really key. You don't want to only rely on what you see and know and hear, the nuance of things that are going on in that meeting. You want other people doing that with you. We call this a story step. We'll have people walk us through their resume story. And we actually tell them that. We say, hey, we're going to get you to start down here in this, this job and walk us through the story of your resume. And we actually instruct them on how to tell a story. We say, when you tell a story, use the names of people that you work for, your bosses, your colleagues. Use their actual name if you can. Just first name's fine. And tell us things you enjoyed, things you didn't like, things you liked about the company, things you didn't like about the company. And what are we trying to do in this story? Well, when people start telling stories, their personalities come out, the things they love, the things they believe. You'll start to see some of the things they say may contradict some things on their resume. And it really starts to give you a lot of feedback. So a resume story is really, really helpful. Now, some people can't tell a story very well. So you have to coach them through it. So they'll just go through and say, well, this is where, I did this at this job and this at this job. And we'll say, was there a situation or a circumstance you can talk us through that happened that was troubling or difficult or really, really enjoyable? Can you talk about a very specific thing you went through, using people's names if you can? And when people use names, they just get real personal. So if they use Sally's name and they don't like Sally, they start to complain about Sally. It just comes out automatically. And then you start to learn how they interact with other people. So a resume story is just a really high level, get to know you with this person that's sitting in front of you. And then the second phase is they've shared with us. The second phase we tell them is we're going to share with them. We actually do a Zoom. We share our screen. We do a presentation. And we set that at a 90-minute meeting. So that second one is 90 minutes on camera. We present our screen, and we do something called a vision and values presentation. So this is where we present to them the story of our firm, our purpose, how we're set up. Sometimes we'll show our website. We tell them our core values. And this one is letting them know we are an intentional firm. What you're trying to get into is where you're going to be asked to adhere to certain levels of core values. And so it's really important that we tell them who we are. And really towards the end of this second step, the second stage, so to speak, we're actually going to invite them. We're going to say, we want to invite you into accountability if you're willing to embrace these same core values that we have. All of the team you're going to meet, they also have embraced these core values. So we want you to do that as well. So that's the second step. And now at this point, we want to add in some more science to the process. So hiring has a lot of different things to it, right? You have feelings about candidates. Some you just really like them as people. Some, they can tell you how technically they are, and you can believe them. You can go, wow, you are very technical. You just told me how you build a spreadsheet. That's what we would ask about in our hiring process. But you can't really tell fully how technical they are, how emotionally stable they are, what their personality truly is like. You got to know everybody's on their best behavior in a hiring process. So this third one is where we're adding in some science. And so we do that with some tests, assessments. And we always know that personality tests, The Working Genius test from Patrick Lencioni, we use that. We'll do background checks that they have to fill things in. That's required in a financial firm like ours. And we add in all kind of different tests, even accounting and bookkeeping and tax tests. There are systems online that let them take these tests and time them through the process. Now what we're doing is we're getting feedback of reports that we can bump up against the nuance of the person we've been meeting in these other steps. And so you want to bump up how you're feeling and what you're thinking against some third-party report, third-party scientific test or something. Now, you always know those kind of tests, they can't tell you who to hire. And they don't always get the personality of the person accurate. So you're just trying to get more information. That's what you want in hiring, as much filtering information as you can. Now, one thing that's really specific about doing that is to make a good candidate hire, you always want to be comparing between two or three people. So a lot of times, if your candidate pool comes down to just one, that's a harder decision because you're not comparing them to anybody. You want to try to get so many people in the candidate pool that you're ending up with two or three, and any one of those three could be a choice. That helps you to vet, well, why are they stronger than the other one? And that helps you to make a good decision. So that's a lot about step 3. And then step 4, what you're going to do is you're going to invite other people into the process. So this is where we have our leadership team come in and actually have their own about 30 to 45-minute meeting with this candidate, the very particular ones that we're interested in hiring at that point. And my partner and I do not go to those meetings. We like them to feel a different level of freedom. They fully feel a freedom with somebody who's not an owner, but is obviously a leader in our firm that knows a lot about our firm, that's been in our firm and led for a long time. And that's where they can really ask different questions. And our leadership team reports back to us, how did they do? Is there anything potentially that we need to watch out for? Do you like them? And so we actually press our leadership team to be really honest with us. You get to cut people out of the process when you want to. You got to prove to us why. If we like them and you don't, we've got to have a conversation as to why we want to pull them out of that process. And then the last step, among many others, as we're reviewing those things, is we do call references. And we ask very specifically, we want as more recent references as we can get. We really want a reference from your current employer. Of course, we can't always get that, but we do not shy away from asking for that. We do not want personal references. Some people will give their friends. They'll give, people they've been friends with for a long time. We do not accept those. We only accept professional references, and they need to be able to produce those. Now, people who haven't been working as long, they don't have as many opportunities to produce those references. But people who have been in the workforce for a long time, they give us an adequate number. And I'm always trying to call at least 3. I want to talk to at least 3 people. Sometimes we'll make a decision on 2 because of all the other factors. Sometimes we'll need another one and we'll say, we are not going to make a decision yet. We can't tell. We need to add that 4th reference. So these are the various different steps we go through in hiring. Now, the keys to this, again, are not to make your hiring steps our hiring steps. You're going to add a lot of different steps to yours that we don't have. We may add more the next round of hiring we go through. The point is you have to be very intentional in hiring. And the point is that hiring takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time. So when you're ready to hire a position, the choice of that person is going to lead to your direct success and growth in your company. So you have to spend hours. You have to chunk hours out of your calendar to do this. So a lot of times on Saturdays, we're going to be piling through. We just piled through about 300-400 different applications, and we quickly cull those through because we're good at it. And then we start looking at groups of 10, 15, and 20 at a time to start really culling those down and having conversations about them. So don't do hiring fast, and don't think just when you meet them at lunch, you've got it figured out. You don't. You need to put a lot of different processes into this. I would say hiring that next person is one of the most strategic, foundational things you can do to grow and be strong as a company. So I hope those steps and those thoughts and ideas on hiring help you, and you can create more of a robust hiring process for your company. Thanks so much. We'll see you later.